Hello and welcome back to the NFL DFS slate preview for week 6, going over the top running back and wide receiver matchups for this upcoming week. Week 5 was a very good one, but let's dive in and look to see what we got here. Now, before we do, come join us at LineStar. Only $39.99 per month gets you access to all we do, all the props, all the DFS, all the best ball, and all the tools associated with all three for all sports we cover. Now, let's get into it. Let's dive in and see what we got. Getting over to the team defense tool, and we will start off going by running back. So, our top projected matchup is Najee Harris over the last 5 starts. Once again, Jalen Warren is doubtful. Najee Harris is in a good spot once again, but I do gotta bring up the fact that he hasn't been able to get it done the last 2 weeks in good spots. Against Dallas, 14 carries, 42 yards, 2 targets, 35 receiving yards. So he's been able to get it done as a receiver a little bit, but running the ball, he has definitely struggled. Then versus Indy, 13 carries, 19 yards, but 3 receptions for 54. So his scores haven't absolutely killed you because he's still getting around 10, but not quite getting to the ceiling that we need to. He's now versus the Raiders in another very good matchup, but it is going to be a little bit hard to trust him. I wanted to actually get over to Fanduel because Fanduel has that last game on there as well. Then another very good spot, we got David Montgomery. David Montgomery versus the Cowboys, who Cowboys have simply just been giving it up. Over the last 4, allowing 107 yards per game on the ground, adding another 44 through the air in 1.3 TDs per game. Cowboys are also beat up on defense. So I like the spot for David Montgomery. The game total is 52. There's going to be a lot of people wanting to stack this game with that game total. So there is a chance that these running backs are going to get you different. Both Gibbs and Montgomery should be in play this week in a very good matchup. And if people are on the stacks in this game, you could be getting different in a very good matchup going with David Montgomery. So we like that one quite a bit. Then we got King Henry. King Henry just has a giant ceiling, as we have seen 2 of the last 3 weeks. He was a little chalky last week, went for 92 and a touchdown, had 4 receiving yards to throw in there. But the only issue with Derrick Henry is because he is just a yardage and touchdown back. He's not going to get many receiving yards, not going to get many catches. It comes down to the fact that he really needs to get over 100 yards. He needs to get in the end zone at least once to give you a solid game. Now, over the last 4 versus Commanders, allowing 122 rushing yards per game on the ground and 0.8 touchdowns a game. So it's definitely a solid spot and one that I would absolutely consider. Now, we only go through the top 3, but there was one interesting spot here that I wanted to talk to, and that was Bjian Robinson. So if we are on the last 5 games, he is number 5. But if we go over to the last 2, he is in the top 3. So this is why I wanted to talk about him a little bit here. Now, Bjian Robinson, he is in an absolutely spectacular spot versus Carolina. However, his workload, I'm worrying about it a little bit. The last 2 games, Tyler Algier has played around 38% of the snaps. And the concerning thing with it is Bjian, 12 carries, 3 targets, 15 total touches, 7 carries, 4 receptions, 11 total targets. Now, You go over to the RB2 where Algier is towards the top. And what do you have the last 2 weeks? 9 targets versus Tampa Bay, or 9 touches, 10 versus New Orleans. So that is back-to-back weeks that Algier almost has as many touches as Bjian Robinson. Then you go in and consider that last week, Bjian Robinson didn't have a single carry go through the tackles. Everything went to the outside. Now, I know Tampa Bay is a stout run defense, and Vita Vea is in the middle, so that is probably why they didn't do that. But it is concerning because if you're trying to run out a clock, if they have a lead on Carolina, it very well could be Tyler Algier banging it through the middle to, run timeout and be getting all of those garbage time, end of the game points that really rack up and are, needed for running back scoring. So just want to put that out. I am a little concerned with the Bjian Robinson workload and how high priced he is. I know he is a very talented back. He can bust some big runs, but there is a major concern for me with his usage. Now let's get over to wide receiver 1. Our top matchup is Chris Olave versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay game was absolutely outstanding last week, and it is a great bounce back spot for Olave. In my DFS show yesterday, I was talking about how I did not like this matchup for Olave versus the Kansas City Chiefs. They've been very, very good to wide receiver 1s. Now, that is just not the case for Tampa Bay. Drake London just went nuts. Dotson isn't really a wide receiver 1, but had to play that role. Cortland Sutton had his best game of the year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 receptions for 119. Then Jaden Daniels' first NFL game. I'm going to give McLaurin a little bit of a pass for that one because of that. So, wide receiver 1s have simply done well versus Tampa Bay. Now you got Chris Olave. It's a very interesting spot, and I am totally here for it. Next, we got Scary Terry McLaurin versus the Ravens. Ravens just got absolutely torched by Cincinnati and Jamar Chase and Higgins. So both the wide receiver 1 and 2 were able to beat the Ravens. Now you got Scary Terry, who has been on a little bit of a roll. 4 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown versus Cincinnati. 7 receptions, 52 yards and a touchdown versus Arizona. 4 receptions for 112 versus a solid Cleveland defense here. So McLaurin and Daniels definitely coming together a little bit, and it's a spot where the Ravens can give it up. Right now, on the season, Ravens are averaging 193.6 receiving yards per game and 1.6 touchdowns per game to the wide receiver. Ranks 31st in the league. 31st in the league. It's a great time to target Scary Terry. And next, we got Malik Nabers. This is for you Fanduel people because he is in the last game. He was out last game with the concussion. He should be back this week. However, we still need to make sure and watch those practice reports to see that he does. Now, the Bengals were okay against the wide receiver up until, the last couple weeks. They're now averaging over the last 4 170 receiving yards per game, 1.3 touchdown per game to the wide receiver, ranking 25th. And then if we look at the matchup tool, we can see what they have actually done. Good old Neighbors. Where you at? There you are. All right, so Zay Flowers, 7 for 111. Diontae Johnson, 7 for 83 and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin, 4 for 100 and a touchdown. Rashid Rice, 5 for 75. New England doesn't count because they don't really have a wide receiver one, especially not week 1. So wide receiver ones versus Cincy. Been crushing. It's another great spot to target with Malik Nabers. It's also that Sunday night game, so it is the late night hammer you may need. Now, because I added that Sunday night game, I want to go with 4 for wide receiver, and we'll add in Diontae Johnson versus the Falcons. Falcons were just in that game versus Tampa Bay where it was just a giant output from both offenses, and Diontae Johnson's in a great spot here. Now, Falcons are allowing, limited yards, only 142 yards per game to the wide receiver, but allowing 1.5 touchdowns. So those touchdowns could still be there. And I'm definitely still interested in Diontae Johnson, how with him being just totally, the offense essentially for the Panthers right now. 14 targets with Andy Dalton, 13 targets, and then only 6 last week. But he did have 2 carries. So still 8 attempts to give you fantasy points with a wide receiver one. That is really good. He also left the game a little early because it was a blowout and they pulled some starters. So I think Diontae is in for a little bit of a bounce back. Definitely interested in him, but much less than the first 3 we covered. I also want to quickly touch on wide receiver 2 today. Michael Wilson is in a prime spot versus Green Bay. Green Bay has been without Jair Alexander for a couple weeks now, so we do need to watch news to see if he is back, because that will change the secondary as a whole for Green Bay. But wide receiver 2s have done well, and there is some upside. 9 targets, 8 for 64, 6 targets, 5 for 78 in 2 of the last 3 weeks. He's done well. He adds a touchdown to that. He's cheaper, especially on Draftkings, and it becomes a little bit interesting there. Rashid Shaheed, got to bring him up versus Tampa Bay right now. The guy is crushing it. He doesn't have quite as much of a ceiling as Olave, but he's in, once again, a very good spot, and I'm absolutely fine going with Shaheed. And then Jalen Tolbert, we got to bring him up. Brandon Cooks is going to be out again. Double digit in 3 of the last 4 weeks, and he's in a good spot. I don't mind some Tolbert there. And if we look to see what wide receiver 2s have done, it's been good. Chris Godwin went nuts. Mike Wilson had one of the better weeks he's had of the season. Tyler Lockett did all right. And then if we look at the Michael Wilson matchups, all have done well there as well. You can look it up on LineStar for yourself, though. Now, that'll do it for us today, guys. That is the top matchups for Week 6 in the NFL for NFL DFS. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the video. It helps us a ton. If you have some questions about it, please leave that in the comments, and we'll get to them as quick as you can. You guys all have a good one. See you later this week. Peace.